When asked to come up with a game that had good color symbolism, the game that I immediately went to was a game released in 2008 called Mirror's Edge. This game is set in a dystopian future where you play as a character called Faith, and your goal is to guide her on these missions from point A to point B. But the game really focuses around the sport of parkour and free running. Faith acts as like a courier for the resistance that she's a part of, handing messages and packages to different resistant members while trying to evade government surveillance and agents. Now getting into the reason why I chose this game for the project, and probably why it's held up so well despite being almost 10 years old, is the game has an absolutely striking color palette, and kind of strays away from the traditional action game tropes of being dark, gritty, and overly distracting visuals and whatnot. When taking a deeper look at the symbolic meaning of the colors in the game, let's first start with the most prevalent color, which is white. White can kind of stand for purity, innocence, and cleanliness, and whatnot. And this the developers are kind of like playing on the expectations of gamers and kind of expectations of like what colors mean. Because this is a dystopian society, the developers in the game itself is trying to make you give this false sense of purity and cleanliness and security that white kind of invokes. And as you play the game and kind of get deeper into the story, you understand that the society isn't as clean and as safe as it really appears to be on the surface. And so white is almost like a mask hiding the darker side of the society. So, like I said earlier, the game doesn't deviate too far from the primary colors, and red is the most important of those colors and kind of serves two purposes in the game. The first one is probably the much more obvious, is that it serves as kind of the guiding hand in the game, as the game likes to refer it as the runner vision. Basically, as you run through the game, objects will light up red, basically indicating that you need to run that way to get to the end of the level, the goal, or whatnot. But the second, less obvious reason why red is important is because, unlike other games that have the traditional health bar or some type of life indicator, the developers of this game decided to use saturation levels in the environment to indicate how much damage you're taking. So as you take more damage and are hurt, the saturation level of the red in the game will actually decrease or increase depending on if you're gaining health or losing health. Another way the game developers play with your expectation of the color red is how they depict the characters. Normally in video games, red is like danger or whatnot, but in this game, the good guys and the protagonists are actually shown wearing red and dark colors and black. This is contrasted with the antagonists of the game, which are often shown wearing light colors and blue, which is normally associated with the good side. So this is just another example of the developers playing with their expectations of color. The other two warm colors used in the game are primarily yellow and orange. These are typically seen on indoor levels, but occasionally make it out to the rooftop stages. Typically in video games, orange and yellow are kind of meant to invoke feelings of warmth, energy, and kind of uplifting feelings. While on the surface, these colors might be serving that purpose of creating that uplifting feeling. To me, because they're so overly saturated and so in such abundance, that to me it feels like manufactured happiness and manufactured energy that the government in the game is trying to impose on the people working in those offices. Outside of red, blue is probably the most important primary color used in the game and is arguably the second most important color in the game. Blue is typically used in games to invoke feelings of safety and security, but in Mirror's Edge, as you go along and learn kind of the color code in the game, you begin to realize that blue is actually a signifier of the most dangerous areas in the game, and often the most difficult levels are blue. While blue is often used to create an ambiance in the game, as well as to balance out the other colors, the developers are playing on the expectations of colors in their game, like I mentioned previously. The game often pairs white and blue And this gives a sense of functionality and modernism and kind of control that I think that the developers are trying to get across as the representation and symbolism of the oppressive government in the game. The last color in the game that I haven't mentioned is the color green. The color green is actually seen very frequently and only indoors. The developers actually stripped away all the green color that you typically find in nature, and they did this because they wanted to create a world that looked real and looked modern, but it also looked there's something off about it, something unnatural about it, and something that was completely disconnected from the natural world. So wrapping this up, what I feel like Mirror's Edge does really well is they're able to take narrative storytelling and color and marry the two to create an even more impactful storytelling experience. The developers do a great job of playing on the expectations of players through the use of color, as well as using color to evoke certain emotions and feelings as they progress through different situations. What I find most fascinating about this project is that even though we have an emotional impact from the colors themselves kind of tie together the narrative themes that the story is trying to tell. And because of this, I feel that Mirror's Edge really leaves a lasting impact on the player that they take with them even after the game is ended.